Just to make sure that we understand what total surface area actually means, whenever we're talking about total surface area, we're talking about three-dimensional shapes. Total surface area means, imagine it's Christmas and you're wrapping presents. Total surface area means how much wrapping paper do I need to cover every single side of the present. So total surface area is talking about the area of each side or each external side of the shape. So if you're wrapping a present, the answer to these questions is how much wrapping paper you would need to cover every single side of the shape. That's what today's questions are about. So always three-dimensional shapes. If you're asked to find the the total surface area of a shape like the one on the left, the rectangular prism, think of that like a shoebox or a PlayStation box or something like that you need to wrap, that you need to cover. That's what you're trying to find out. If you're asked to find the total surface area of a sphere, the shape in the middle, that's like you needing to wrap a basketball or a soccer ball. On the far right, total surface area of a cylinder, that's asking you to find how much wrapping paper you'd need to cover a can of Coke or a cylinder of like those things that tennis balls come in. That's what today's questions will be looking at. Make sure you've gone on to Compass Resources and filled in the formula sheet first. I did it for you, so just make sure you copy down exactly as I've done it here. Those little blue things are really, really important, those little blue notes. Not in this video, but in part 2 in the next video, which will help you with more difficult questions. Those little blue instructions will make sense. For now, just make sure your formula sheet is exactly as it looks like on the one on resources, and it will help you with each of today's questions. Okay, let's start with a basic shape. So pause the video as often as you need. I'm going to go a bit quicker so the video doesn't go on forever and ever. So you just pause the video so you can do your working out before me. Normal rules, stay ahead of the black. So pause as often as you need to, do the working out, and then see if it's the same as mine. All right, let's start with a rectangular prism. You don't need to be an artist, doesn't have to be a perfect drawing. The easiest way to draw these shapes though, like for a rectangular prism, just draw two rectangles like this. If you want to be fancy, you can draw dotted lines. Draw two rectangles like that, and if you draw dotted lines, it makes them look like it's in the background or it's covered. And then join up each of the corners of the rectangles like that. It's probably the easiest way to draw it. You don't have to do the dotted lines, that's just so it looks more three-dimensional. I'll give you some measurements to put on your shape. The bottom will be 8 centimetres, that one there 6 centimetres, and we'll make the top one 4 centimetres. Alright, first thing I want you to do is get your formula sheet out, and underneath that, write the formula exactly as it appears on your formula sheet. This is what I want your working out to look like for every single question. Pause the video, write down the formula underneath, and then see if it's the same as mine. Now, very quickly, label the numbers, that 8, the 6 and the 4. They need to match up with, there's 3 different letters in this formula. They need to match up with what's on the shape. L stands for length, W stands for width. So it's you probably know it's going to be these two numbers here. It actually doesn't matter which one you call length and which one you call width. You get the same answer either way. Traditionally, length is normally the longer number. So if you label them, again, quickly do it now before me. But you should have an L next to that one there. The width would be the 6. The H stands for height. That, of course, is the distance from the top to the bottom. Now you're ready to swap all the letters in that formula for the numbers in the diagram. So do that now, then the calculator will do the rest. Do it before me, and then see if yours looks like mine. Okay, you end up with this. Again, 2 letters touching means times, so make sure you put a times in between, and these are pluses. Look at yours, see if you've put a plus in between each one as well. Once you get to here, that is all the working out that you need to do. So your working out must look exactly the same as this. The black is your working out for all questions. Once you get to here, punch that whole thing in the calculator in one go. Make it look exactly the same on the calculator screen as it does here. Put the 2, put the brackets. The 2 is just part of the formula. It's just there because I say so. So make sure you type it in exactly as it looks there on your calculator screen. And if you do, it'll spit you out an answer. Do it before me, see if you get the same answer that I do. If you ended up with 208, you are correct. That's all the working out you need to show. You're half a mark away from getting full marks. If you stop there, you would lose half a mark. Something is missing. There are no units on your answer, okay? So look back at the question. We're talking in centimetres. Almost there. And just like last term when we were doing area, and I put it as a little reminder at the very top of my formula sheet in blue, every single question you do will have centimetres or metres, but it will always have a squared at the end. So you need to make sure that always squared. And that's your answer, and that's full marks. We'll do 2 more examples, go a little bit quicker, and then I'll leave you to do your questions. Draw a cylinder this time, please. Label it, the height, well, that one there's 19, and make that number there 12. Now, get to your formula sheet. Write down your formula exactly as it appears on the sheet underneath. Do that now, press pause before me. Okay, we will explore a bit later why the formula is set up the way that it is. But all I want you to know now is it's broken up into 2 sections, like the little blue instructions told you. Pi r squared. I hope that looks familiar. Pi r squared means the formula for area of a circle. There's a 2 in the front because there are 2 circles on this shape. And then that part of the formula there, that 2 doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean that there's 2 of anything. But that formula there, that part there, that's for the area of that curved or that cylinder looking part of the shape. Okay, now there are 2 letters in this formula, an R and an H. We've seen those letters before. R goes back to the stuff we were learning about circles, so look back on the front page of your formula sheet if you've forgotten what R stands for. To do with circles, it means radius. Pause it, label the R and the H, see if yours is the same as mine. And if you did that, you're correct. Now, you're ready to swap in that black formula, swap all the letters for the relevant numbers. Go. Put a times in between each one. Looks like that. You can put that whole thing all at once in your calculator, even with that plus in the middle. If you put that whole thing, type the whole equation in and press enter, it will give you the exact answer to this question. Do that now, please. There are heaps of numbers after the decimal point. When in doubt, 2 decimal places. Unless the question tells you otherwise, you can always just go to 2 decimal places. And that turns this into 3, 4. If you've forgotten how to round off, you don't know how to do your rounding, do a quick YouTube search, find a video that makes sense to you to give you a bit of a refresher. Units on your answer, don't forget. This is in centimetres again. So it looks like that. 1 more, then I'll shut up. Draw a cone, please. Make it look something like that for a cone. Okay, I'll use some measurements and then look at your cone formula. That part there is 13 centimetres, and that distance, watch where I'm drawing that distance from there across to there, that is 8 centimetres. Okay? Write your formula underneath. Make it exactly the same as what's on your formula sheet. Couple of things. It says pi r squared again. That looks familiar because that's the formula for the area of a circle. Have a look at your cone. There's a circle on the bottom. That's why that's there. That is an S, not a 5. So can you make sure on your formula sheet you've written it as an S and not accidentally thought that it was a 5. That is an S. That's a letter that we haven't seen before. So when you're now labelling, I'm going to do it in my green, when you're labelling on your diagram, R stands for radius, S, that stands for the slant. That's the slanted part of the cone, okay? So you've got that on your formula sheet already anyway, but just make sure you know what it means. Now, the slanted part of the cone we can see quite easily. I believe that that's the number 13 up there. I've tried to trick you here, be careful. The radius is not 8, okay? The radius is not 8. So if you can, write down somewhere underneath here what the radius is, please. Do it before me. Remember, the radius is halfway across the circle. That 8, that's all the way across the circle. So the radius must be 4. Now you're ready to start solving. Rewrite the formula. Swap all of those letters for the numbers from your diagram, then the calculator will do the rest. If you get to there, you are correct. That's what your working out needs to look like. You need to write that down just like the black steps every single time. Then let the calculator solve your answer. Type it in. You can type that whole thing all in one go and the calculator will solve it for you. Again, let's go to 2 decimal places. Do it now before me. Alright, that's where you end up. There's your answer. If the rounding off tricked you and you wrote 6.2 because you didn't know how to round up properly, do a quick search for a video that'll help you as well. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to complete the questions from 6.3. Go back to the lesson plan, look at what the questions are, and then the next video will show you how to do the more difficult questions from the chapter. Go.